I get it. I get it. It's not super fun being a Suns fan right now, but I think we can all agree at least on one thing. That was a really fun end to that game. Devin Booker had 47 and 11. Grayson Allen paid homage to Rex Chapman, hit a game-tying three. The MVP chance rang in Footprint Center, and the PHNX Suns had some much-needed vibes injected into their franchise with a win, 135-127 in overtime against the Utah Jazz. Welcome into the PHNX Suns post-game show. I'm Eric. That's Steven. That's Sespo. Noah's behind the Mac, making all the magic happen, and we needed this. The sexy, sexy sax. Whip it up, Espo. You're a little too close.
Right in his ear.
That way. That way. Thank you to Sean, Optical Illusion, Lonnie, Bees, Jason, Viva, JDQ, everybody who I haven't mentioned in the chat, and of course all of you joining us on YouTube afterwards, and of course all of our audio friends for the first post-trade deadline edition of the PHNX Suns post-game show, still brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365 when you sign up, and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And that was not an ordinary end of the game, Steven. The Suns were up, they blew it, Grayson Allen saved it, and they turned up the gas in overtime. What a roller coaster.
That was a fun game to watch. They left the Buscemi desire in a few places, which put them in the hole that they were in to close the game and have to pull the rabbit out the hat. But to be able to answer and then not falter in overtime and make it count for something, I think is important. And if we're talking about the team's process rather than just the results, that's what you want to see. You get behind, do you just tuck your tail and say, all right, man, we got to come back out and try it again tomorrow? Or do you continue to work at it, give yourself a chance, and then roll the dice from there? The dice rolled in their favor, and then they went and doubled down on top of what they did to get back at the end in overtime.
To be fair, the tail was tucked. Grayson ripped it back out. It wasn't. They needed a miracle, and they got one. All right, and that was a fun way to end it. I'm glad that they rode the momentum in overtime, and they got that win. Definitely shades of Rex Chapman with less on the line.
Oh yeah,
but definitely shades of that, and you hope that that kind of a win can wake up something within a group, right? Because it felt like this is everything we've seen this season. Just build up a lead, blow it, and then kind of just pack it in. And instead, we've talked about this team needing some kind of jolt, some kind of jumper cables. Maybe Grayson did that tonight. Maybe. It's a big maybe, because there were still many issues, and we will get to where it ranks on the Buscemi meter in a few, but at least it was a win.
Yeah, and I know what a lot of the negative comments are going to say. There was a ton from this game that did not go right for the Suns on their own accord a lot of the time as well, but I'm at the point, and y'all saw me over the last couple of days. Like, I have been broken down by this team. So the fact that we are sitting here talking about a win, I was screaming at my TV with joy at the end of the game when Grayson Allen hit that three, right? We go into overtime, and the team really steps up and does put the Jazz away. And I get it. It's the Jazz. But at the end of the day, Devin Booker got MVP chance. The team was playing fun and free after what could have been to be honest with you, a debilitating blow to morale after the trade deadline. You had no idea how this team was going to respond without two of their best players in Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, and all the reports about it being a toxic locker room and Kevin Durant being unhappy. They went out there, they didn't play a perfect game, but they won the damn game. And that's what matters.
But if you looked at that up until that 0.9 seconds left, I think people would argue that it was exactly what everybody thought. And if Grayson misses that shot, we're having a discussion that they're exactly who we thought they were. There are problems. They can't even beat a team that's lottery bound and trying to get the great white hype. Like that's, that's what we're talking about. So let's not act like there was some magic elixir that made this better. You had Devin Booker play out of his mind, and Grayson Allen showed up when it mattered. And those are essentially, with a little bull sprinkled in there, the things that went right tonight. Like, so again, not to poo-poo on everybody's parade, but
I'm not saying
you're gonna come back out tomorrow and actually do it against a good team, because we've seen you do it against bad competition and barely win. Now I got to see you bounce back and show that kind of effort tomorrow. Can we put a poll in what kind of Buscemi it should be? I want to poll the people, because I've seen some things thrown in the chat. I want to see what the people think.
I'll say, not that I disagree with what Espo said, so this is not me having a rebuttal, but I think that sometimes when we get to teams having lofty expectations like the Suns, especially one that their tax bill, as well as their talent, as well as their head coach suggests, sometimes what can get lost in that is just how significantly hard it is to win a singular NBA game.
That's fair.
That, like, in and of itself is just genuinely hard. And you add the injury adversity that both teams saw, there's a lot of variance that comes with that. So I'm not overreacting to it. I just think it's relevant that they get on the right side of the win column, just because we've seen how hard it is, and we understand that they can't detach from the non-basketball discourse that's taking place around the team without winning, even if it is against the odds like tonight.
I agree wholeheartedly, and you got to enjoy how fun the ending was.
Bingo.
And we've been on this insane roller coaster with this team. It's just, I'm just at a point where I want even keel expectation. I don't want to ride too high. I don't want to ride too low. That was a lot of fun. And that's probably where it stops for me.
Absolutely. Bees in the chat says, I'm fully overreacting and having fun doing it. And honestly, Bees, like, I'm in the same boat. It's a coping mechanism for me right now. I'm not overreacting in the sense that I'm shifting what I think about this team. Everything I said yesterday on our trade deadline special, where I was crashing out in front of like 1,000 people, like, I still stand by all of that. That's all true. Long term, all of the questions that we're going to talk about later in the game, we're going to talk about what Mike Budenholzer and James Jones had to say in pregame comments, all of the reports that are out there. There's Natasha Cloud quote out there that relates back to everything going on as well. So don't think we're not pulling the wall over your eyes right now, but because I still believe everything I said yesterday, I'm choosing to enjoy today. And tomorrow, I will go into that game against the Nuggets with zero expectations for this team. I am purely here to watch and react. And if it's good, I'm going to enjoy it.
No, look, I enjoyed the moment, right? Because you thought, oh, great, it's happened again. And then what Grayson did in those final seconds was unbelievable. It was damn fun to watch, right? And I enjoy that. I will say that was a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and probably the most fun we've had all season. But that doesn't hide the blemishes too. And Matt, I'm sorry in the chat that you're not happy with me, but that's just, I've been through this. Like, I can only get so hyped. I can enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I also live in the reality of what we've seen all year too. So like, I'm gonna live there. I'm even keel tonight. That was fun, and I still know the reality of things, and that's where I'm gonna be.
And that's fair. I think that if you're gonna take positives from the rest of this season, I don't know if it's always gonna come in the form of wins, Steven. And tonight it came in the form of honestly, a good handful of individual performances. Obviously, we're going to name our X Factor. We're going to name our big, bright, shining star. But we saw some interesting rotations from Coach Bud tonight. And there were some good And there was some shocking. Bol got first quarter minutes. Damian Lee got first quarter minutes. Monte Morris played 15 minutes tonight. Why do you think Bud decided to pull those levers? Is it simply because Beal and KD were out tonight?
I think that opened up a bevy of minutes to disperse amongst multiple people. I think he gave some people a first shift to see how well they responded to it, if they had an impact on the game. Naturally, like you mentioned first, Bol had that. Mason Plumlee had that. Damian Lee didn't necessarily have it, so we didn't see him get back into the game. But he's just trying to find a post from people that can help to get them across the finish line, or at least at worst bridge the gap for the team in minutes where people have to be spared. So it feels like searching. He found some things against the Jazz tonight, but again, for context purposes, this is the Utah Jazz. I would not want to see Bol, Damian Lee playing tomorrow night against Jokic in the game. That's no disrespect to either one of those two players, but the contrast in the team you went against tonight and the room for the margin for error you have when you have the best player on the court versus a team where you will not have the best player on the court tomorrow night has high variance. Hopefully that context shifts for the Suns as well with Beal and Durant being back tomorrow, but just for the purposes of speaking of tonight's game, you can get away with that because of the margin for error.
Sean totally gets me. He says, I suppose Joker laughing about this bad loss, and the Grayson shot made me do the same thing. This team has just made me psychotic.
Oh, I'm so insane. Like, even with me overreacting, like, it's not coming from a place of, like, security and joy. Again, it's coming from a place of coping. And that's why, like, listen, I'm going to watch Bol play, and tonight he had good minutes. And admittingly, I'm not one that's stood on the table and was screaming for Bol minutes. I've said multiple times I don't see him being in this rotation. I'd be lying if I said that on a team with, not so high expectations currently. Watching Bol play and have some good minutes was fun. Like, it was fun watching that tonight. And for that reason, it is time to name our PHNX. Whoa, for the pump
chat,
fake.
Y'all can think that Bol plays. I didn't say that I don't think he'll play. I said I don't want to see Bol playing against Denver.
Well, especially if KD or Beal is back. Like, you can't go that deep into the bench at that point.
If y'all want him to play, I mean, we've seen this happen and it not work in their favor against this specific Nuggets team with Aaron Gordon and Jokic and all the other bigger pieces that they play. That's y'all opinion. I just said I personally would not want to see him play against them.
I feel like I just mellow pump faked that whole thing. It's time for our PHNX Factor.
X gon' give it to you.
Hey, there's Bol. But the cool thing about tonight specifically, Steven, is that there were a couple performances worthy of X Factor, and that's why we couldn't name just one. So it's time to name another PHNX Factor.
X gon' give it to you.
Oh, it's Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen with some incredible shooting. 21 points tonight. 7 of 19 from the field, but 7 of 14 from 3. Of course, 2 of those 3 coming in clutch time to tie the game and to start overtime. Grayson was launching them, man. Launching.
Well, I mean, he was kind of a microcosm of the game. I think he was like 3 of 16 at one point. And he comes back and he fires at will and wins this game. Like, there was no consistency in any of it, but man, did he come up big, and did he come up big in a surprising way there at the end. Like, that was probably one of the best buzzer beaters we've seen. It's probably top 10, maybe top 15 all time for this team. Probably top 15.
I mean, it was clean. It was a great sideline out of bounds play, Steven. Executed perfectly. Royce O'Neal delivered so crisp on the pass. Grayson with just a beautiful catch and shoot, get it off before the final buzzer. That was a beautiful shot. Great result.
Friend of the program, Shane Young, had an excellent tweet. He said, fun stat, and I quote, Grayson Allen now has the most games in Suns franchise history with at least 7 3-pointers made. Mind you, this is his second, not even his full, this is a season and a half.
That's crazy.
That he's been with the Suns. He passed Raja Bell for the most games with 8.
Man, he passed Raja. You could give me a lot of guesses. I want to say Raja was the guy that had that record either. That's a crazy thing.
See, I knew that because last year Grayson hit, I think, 7 threes in a couple of games. We're like, oh my gosh, he's already like up near the Suns record.
And to that point about the last play, the process with the Suns and their after timeout plays, I've been saying this since game 1. I've been saying this since the preseason. The attention to detail is everything. Do they always make the shots off of it? No. But the quality of shots that they create for the person intended to get said shot is impeccable. Utah switching, what do? They don't go to Devin Booker. They use Devin Booker as a decoy to set a screen. He's getting top locked, and what does he do? He flips his man the direction of where the pass from Royce O'Neal is coming from to set the flare screen for Grayson, and the Jazz switching is completely dismantled because Lauri Markkanen wants to switch with who's guarding Devin Booker. I think it was Collier, if I'm not mistaken. But because he's attached to keep Devin Booker from getting the ball, Booker flips that leverage. Grayson's able to get a wide open catch on the opposite wing of where Royce's pass came from, and it's bottoms up to tie the game going into overtime.
Like, strategy-wise, if you were the Jazz, would you have missed and tried to intentionally miss that second free throw with 0.9 seconds?
I feel like sometimes you overthink that too much.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So, no, he played it right to make the shot and then go and get a stop with an improbable 0.9 seconds left on the clock.
And they didn't even have a chance to foul Grayson. They weren't close enough to even try to foul him before
he was wide open.
But what I will say, I can't remember who it was that was guarding Royce, but you have 3 near or plus 7 foot centers on your roster. It's 0.9 seconds left. There's only a pass and a shot that can be made and taken. Why not put one of those guys on the inbounder and say, good luck getting a pass off against one of these guys?
Yeah, well, especially that kind of pass, too.
You can't. No. You just can't. If it's Walker Kessler there, how do you get that pass off?
No, you don't.
You know?
Well, we have Mike Budenholzer on Grayson Allen's shot, comparing it to Rex Chapman's shot. We're going to get to that in a second. We are going to take a break, but before we get there, we haven't set a light goal for tonight. Now, I know that it wasn't the prettiest win of all time, but it sure was fun and exciting. I want Noah to set the light goal for today's post-game show.
Let's do 262.
262 for the light goal. We're almost not halfway there. We got a long way to go. But we appreciate everybody. Soul Collector, Brian, Hello, Bees, Mario, Red Hawk, JDQ, Viva, Chris. Thank you, everybody who's in the chat now, in the chat later, and of course, listening on audio. We'll be back with Mike Budenholzer's comments on Grayson Allen's game winner after our first break. Not only am I a stressed out guy, I've got a lot of aches and pains. A lot of them. And I'm looking for a healthier. What?
How old are you?
I'm old in the body. I have torn ligaments in my ankle. I've broken bones. I've sprained my fingers. I've broken my toe. Like, I've done everything in the book. I've been to the ER double-digit times, okay? My body's been through it, and that's why I love our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. I'm being serious, because they have wonderful CBD products that is just a healthier way to relieve aches and pains while getting a better night's sleep, which is big for me, because they are USDA organic CBD gummies, and they also come with some THC varieties as well. It's full spectrum CBD, USDA certified organic. It's made from flower only, and a third-party lab tested it for potency, terpenes, and contaminants. Cornbread offers free shipping and backs all products with their 30-day better life guaranteed. If you want to give Cornbread a try, they're offering PHNX listeners 30% off your first order. They are gummies, by the way. It's not cornbread. But visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use code PHNX at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use code PHNX for 30% off your first order. It's the good life.
They taste damn good, too.
It's true.
Look, the Suns made us sweat it out. When you sweat, sometimes you stink, all right?
Sometimes
the Suns stink, too. We know that. But you can cover up that stink and make it smell all sorts of better with our friends over at Mando. That's right. Mando.com is where you can get it, and you want to use that promo code PHNX. It's a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresher and clean. Every aspect. Anywhere you could put, you can put it on your left hand if it smells. Like, you can put it anywhere is going to help you smell
that
better.
stinks.
They got wipes, they got deodorant sticks, everything you could want. It's organic, 100% natural, fragrance oil free, and dermatologist recommended. You know how tough it is to get a dermatologist to recommend something? It's difficult, but they recommend Mando. I'm going to tell you that much. So Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or the deodorant wipes. I recommend those, and then just keep them in your bag. And free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with the code PHNX. That equates to 40% off your starter pack. So use code PHNX at shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Once again, thank you everybody joining us live and later after the fact. All of you are very special, means so much to us. And of course, thank you all who hit that like button. 262 likes is our goal, but I know we're going to smash that. We're probably going to get to 300 or 400 if people are feeling generous. Well, I tease this. This is what Mike Budenholzer said about comparing Grayson Allen's shot to Rex Chapman's buzzer beater.
Coach, I was curious with your time growing up here if you remember Rex Chapman's shot against the Sonics, a very similar looking play.
I told Rex that was like the carbon copy. I don't think Grayson has the leg kick, but yes, I remember the shot. I see the picture in the dentist office when I go to the dentist.
Why does his dentist office have the photo of Rex Chapman's 3? No, I mean, that play, if you go look at our Twitter, we got both of them side by side. It is very, very close in form of that almost the exact same spot on the court that Grayson hits the shot. Yeah, the leg kick's not there, but it was a hell of a design and a hell of a pass in both situations. So yeah, it was pretty close. Obviously, Rex Chapman's came in a playoff game against the Sonics to send it to overtime. So a little bit more on the line.
And this one pushed the Suns to one game over 500 and to send it to overtime against the Utah Jazz.
But I mean, it was very close to it for sure.
Eric, not me in the chat, says Rex Chapman is his dentist. So
God, Bud must have some bad teeth.
Or Rex Chapman's just the most talented guy out there. Let's continue to break down this game. We are going to get to, of course, big picture, everything with the Suns.
Can we get to the Buscemi?
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
You want me to read the poll?
Yeah, let's read the poll.
So what kind of Buscemi was this game? I'll tell you what, this poll is a barn burner. So here are your options. Let's throw up the visual for people so they can go along with it. There's full Buscemi, messy Buscemi, try hard Buscemi, and cool Buscemi. Now, leading the way, actually, we'll start with last. In 20%, in last place is try hard Buscemi.
Yeah, definitely.
In second to last place at 25%, it's cool Buscemi. In second place at 27% is messy Buscemi. And the winner by 1%, full Buscemi.
I'm sorry, but when you get that buzzer beater from Grayson Allen, I'm going cool Buscemi, because there's something to be said for a cool buzzer beater to tie a game, and then everything that came after it was pretty basketball for the Suns. So you're all wrong. I'm going with the cool Buscemi tonight. I respect the full Buscemi, but I have to go cool. And Matt, I'm so glad that you love the Buscemi spectrum. It's not
that serious, my guy. It's really, trust me, it's actually probably the least serious thing. But there was something that seriously made me feel something tonight, Steven. It was MVP chants ringing out loud in Footprint Center. It's absolutely no secret who our big, bright, shining star is. Presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
Armani mode was in full display tonight. 47 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, 18 of 33 from the field in 49 minutes from Devin Booker. Steven, I got flashbacks to, I was watching an hour-long Booker highlight video earlier today to feel something, and those moments earlier in Booker's career where it just felt like he had to put the team on his back and just go into this assassin killer mode, and we saw that tonight, and it felt so good.
77 of their 109 points came from Devin Booker, not counting his secondary or hockey assists in this game. That's a bevy of points from one individual player. And it's not like he was getting double teamed the whole game. A lot of it was him putting his head down, getting a paint touch, probing like we talked about in one of the most recent Steven studies, just drawing the attention of 2.5 defenders and making a pass to counter how they're overloading towards him. That's where a majority of their three-point shots came from. They weren't hitting them in the first quarter for sure. Second quarter, they started to perk up some, and then the third and fourth quarters were where they were. And he just played with such great control. He truly has the Utah Jazz's number. And it's loud in terms of the point totals that he's amassed over the last 4 seasons, honestly, but also the assists. And I feel like when he's playing in this space where he's leveraging his scoring on efficiency and volume with playmaking, he turns into a top 8, top 9 at worst player in the league. And that's the space the Suns need him to be operating around for them to get to where they ultimately desire to be.
Yeah, I mean, at one point in the fourth quarter, he had accounted for all their points, whether it was scoring or assisting on it. Like, this was more vintage Devin Booker than we've seen in a while. And he became the Sun with the most ever 40-plus point, 40 or 10-plus assist games, passing Gail Goodrich, who actually happened to be in the building as well tonight. But Devin Booker came out and did the thing, and they needed him the most. And, luckily he got that second guy in Grayson Allen to show up to help him out there in the end. But you got to give him a lot of credit. You wish his three-point shooting was a little bit more efficient. It was only 3 of 10, but overall, hell of a game. And that's the kind of book that you need. You need that guy that had that killer instinct, that was driving. Those things that we've come to know Devin Booker as, that's what you need the rest of the way if you want any hope to surprise some people.
Yeah, that's the path. We've talked about what do the Phoenix Suns do going forward, right? Obviously, you're the talk of the NBA world with your supposed toxicity in the locker room, even though the bench looked good tonight. What's the future of Kevin Durant? What about Bradley Beal? Devin Booker, Brian Windhorst reported it earlier today. He doesn't want to go anywhere. The Suns don't want to trade him. Not only is Booker your path for the rest of his career, as long as he wants to be here to stay in contention, he is your path to actually turn this season into something. A championship, wouldn't put my money on it. But if we can all leave this season saying, wow, they were surprisingly good in the second half, made a little bit of noise in the playoffs, and now we go in the offseason and see what that holds with Kevin Durant's future and whatnot, that's a win in my book. And they need him to be this kind of book to get there. And I'll never take performances like tonight for granted.
My biggest concern would be them giving false hope, though, right? Where you maybe back off of what you're thinking you actually want to do because you get some glimmer of it. That's not saying I don't want to see them succeed, but I also want them to have a very discerning eye while this goes on the rest of the way. So,
Michael asked in the chat, why is Plumlee closing games? Well, that is a question that Mike Budenholzer was asked in his post-game press conference.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have kind of been, alternating, playing 5 or 6 minute stretches. And, sometimes it's just a gut feel at the end. And, Mason's familiarity with what we do, sometimes is important down the stretch. And they both made a lot of plays, both Nick and Mason.
I mean, he's not wrong in terms of them alternating minute windows, pockets of the games. And the familiarity part is obviously in favor of Mason Plumlee, considering Nick has been around for 3.5 weeks now. So on that part, it's definitely understandable. But at the same time, how does Nick ever get to where you need him to be if you don't give him opportunities in these moments where it's high leverage?
Well, and you already saw Mason have issues in that same situation against Portland. Yeah, I mean, and Nick was giving you energy all night, was out there doing those things.
Giving you boards.
I mean, I would have...
Tired of season high in blocks today. He was getting it done.
Just put him out there, especially when you're starting to flounder like they were.
And you're floundering because the Jazz are doing what? Grabbing offensive rebounds with their 7-footer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. What was it? It was the Clippers game, right? where, yeah, Plumlee was playing Zubac better than anybody, but it just got to the point where it's like you put too many eggs in the basket, right? You're just like, okay, we're going to roll with Mason Plumlee. Listen, as soon as Mason Plumlee starts to go downhill a little bit, you got to pull the court. You got to put Nick Richards in there, because when you leave Mason Plumlee out there, the floor that he can hit is so low. And yeah, he might be more comfortable or whatever, and maybe he's having a better stretch at that moment, but this is multiple times in a row where you went all in on Plumlee as your center for a couple minutes too long, and it nearly cost you a game in a tight Western Conference. These are not like decisions to be made lightly. These are difference between in and out of the play-in, in and out of the play-off decisions that can be made with this rotation.
Yeah, get your Nick out there. Go out there and
whip it out.
I like just put him in there late in the game, right? I don't understand why you're not at this point, because if you felt good about Mason Plumlee, you wouldn't have gone out and got Nick Richards. You would have just kept Mason Plumlee as your starter and let Oso be the backup and deal with it. But we knew Mason Plumlee wasn't the guy to be in there in high leverage moments. So why'd you bother getting Nick Richards if you're not even going to try him in those situations? It just seems like a ridiculous thing. And based on gut, get some probiotics, dude, because I think something messed up with your gut.
Drink
right
some
now.
kombucha, bud. I can't believe I just said that on the show. All right, we're going to read your super chats. We're going to continue to break down this game, wind that down, talk about big picture Sun stuff. We're going to do all of that after our second break.
Oh, I got to tell you about our friends over at Spinato's. They have the best pizza in the Valley. And I'm not just saying that. Look at me. I know pizza, and I know pizza well. It's one of my 5 food groups, okay? And Spinato brings it. They have the best. They have the best sauce on a pizza anywhere, right? They've got great options. Whether you're gluten-free, you're on keto, you just like regular pizza, they got you covered. And they get the best cheese pizza in the world. I'm just going to go that far. That's not like clinically proven or anything. That's just the ESPO stamp of approval. Best cheese pizza I've had anywhere. And it's the place to be for Suns fans, because they are the official pizzeria of the Phoenix Suns. So don't you want to be there? So get all the info on the watch parties that they have for the Suns and more at SpanatosPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
Everybody close your eyes. I need everybody.
Nope.
Close your eyes.
I don't trust you like that,
You
my
don't
friend.
have to trust me, but just trust our friends over at Waymo. I just want everybody, I'm even closing my eyes, to imagine this. You hail a ride just for you or you and 3 of your closest friends. And
over here,
you don't want to have a driver in the car, but you don't want your car to be autonomous. Well, you're in a pickle, right? Wrong. Because our friends over at Waymo have a autonomous car, not driverless. The driver's just not in the car. You can control your own music in there. You're stepping into an all-electric Jaguar I-Pace that's good for the environment, and it's consistent. Over 150,000 trips per week across San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. Waymo was the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel in 2015, and has over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. And while the Waste Management Open in town, about 30 million of those have been to and from Old Town. You can download the Waymo One app today and ride. I want to ask you, Espo, before we get back on track,
do we have to?
What are the other 4 food groups?
Well, I mean, there's cheese itself.
So pizza and cheese.
Pizza and cheese. I mean, burgers have got to be there. Quesadillas. And then all others.
So burgers, quesadillas, and all others.
Cheese and pizza.
Cheese, pizza, burgers, quesadillas, and then others.
Yeah,
others is doing a lot of lifting there.
Of course.
A lot of lifting.
Of course.
All right, let's get to some of your super chats.
None of that green stuff, though. And none of that. No,
Can't relate.
No.
Thank you all for hitting that like button as well. Over halfway to our like goal, 262, 145. You've hit that like button. And a lot of you have super chatted as well. If you want your chat read on screen, any price will do. Thank you all so much. Starting with David, $2 super chat from David saying bags over our heads. David's been asking for that for a while. The Damari
plastic or paper?
Whatever you want. The Damari with a $4.99 super chat says, book Katie, Allen, and Royce as our team. 2 stars, 2 great 3-and-D guys. Surround them with great defense, and we win a chip next year. Dunn can stay too. I mean, Steven, it's the formula, right? 2 stars, wings, 3-point shooting, defense. It's the formula in the modern NBA.
I mean, it is You just gotta make sure you got what you need against the elite level teams, though.
Like a center
Yeah,
or a 6-foot point guard who can't defend. Psycho Blue with a 499 super chat says, Judas Shuttlesworth lives, recites this vow. I've become your new basketball god now. Basketball Cthulhu. I'm sorry, that made no sense, Psycho Blue, and I love you to death. Be Calm, See Clearly with the $2 super chat says, I'm broken. Be calm, see clearly like Matt Hardy. So you're broken like Matt Hardy. I'm sorry to hear that. The super chats are all over the place right now. You having a stroke?
I have no clue what that. What?
Here, this next one. This next one's all okay. All you. Hunter with a $4.99 super chat says, Wave Plumlee, sign Tice.
Okay.
Another $4.99 super chat from Hunter says, who knew Bull could ball besides all of us? Hopefully Bud learns.
Hold on. It's false narrative.
Absolutely.
God, I hate, Bull is not the answer to any question other than what's the 7-foot guy you bring in when you're up big or you're losing bad or your rotation
or
is
you
very
need first
thin.
quarter minutes against the Jazz.
That's it.
Can I just say this? Like the same way that my overall expectations on the Suns have not shifted. I think we're in a pretty awful place. This is near worst case scenario of where you wanted to be when all of these moves were made. I do not believe Bull is a consistent rotation piece on any good team. It is fun to watch him play basketball if you're just like watching him like he's just at the park hooping, right? Because he's entertaining. He had a sick block. Like he had some cool shots. He's got a little bit of a buttery touch sometimes. Like it's just fun. Like people like fun. That's why people like Bull.
Bull is like basketball malort. Sure, it's fun every once in a while, but if that's what I'm drinking on a regular basis, I got a
But nobody's
massive
asking
problem.
you to drink it on a regular basis. I
Nobody-
guess some people are. Yeah.
Nobody said Bull can't hoop. You just said is his minutes total on the course of a game going to be conducive to winning? Tonight was the answer. At any other point this season, has it been that? Nobody's trying to rain on the parade. Nobody's trying to poo-poo or put down his performance tonight because without him, they don't win this game. But at the same time, the context is the context. That's all. So
yeah,
Oh,
I almost said something. Y'all know me off the air. I almost said something that probably would have got me in trouble. So I'm gonna leave it alone.
Have you listened to me? There's a fine line where you could get to, just so you know.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. I don't think I've been anywhere close to that, but I'm just saying.
Listen, if this season is in the dumps, I don't mind seeing some more Bull minutes.
Can I read the next one?
Oh, please.
Devin Dresbeck, 199 says, Bull looking like Pippi Longstocking out there.
Long blocking out there.
Oh, long. That too.
I think
that
you
was-
were asking me a legitimate question. Can I read this one?
I mean, I gotta
Yeah,
say,
Noah liked that one.
I enjoyed it. That was a good burn. I'll give you that. I feel like Bo was like, I ain't playing today. Let's just do whatever hairstyle keeps us off my neck tonight.
Dude,
Like-
okay. This is such a good tweet we should have tweeted. You know the meme of the guy who has the beer in his hand and he's like pointing like me? Should have been Bull and Damian Lee when Mike Budenholzer turned it into the first quarter. Art and Booker edits with a $4.99 super chat. Thanks for being around, Art, and I hope things are going better over on the home front. Says, I recorded my reaction to Grayson's game winner, and let's just say it was priceless. We had some pretty priceless reactions in here. I was screaming pretty loud. Nick with a $1.99 super chat. Thanks, Nick. Says, Richards, 14 rebounds, 12 points, 17 million. Plumlee, 6 rebounds, 2 points. Say 20 million?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes. I was like, I don't think Plumlee's getting paid $25 million.
Minutes.
Yeah, I think Mason Plumlee in stretches has been a good backup center, but somebody said it in the chat. He's a backup center. Stop giving him this leash, Steven, that treats him like he's an established starting center.
That's it.
I don't get it.
He's put in a position now where he should be able to play to a specific role for this team that his level of play suggests as a reserve. Not a reserve that's closing games, and obviously you can't be a reserve if you're starting games. Those starting and end points should be with Nick Richards on most nights. I don't think it's that complicated of an equation.
And on a night like this, how does he not earn your trust? Right? With what he did on the boards, the hustle, and then
4
it's like,
block shots.
well, I gotta go with Mason though. The old gut told me that.
All reliable.
Well, not only how does Nick Richards earn the coaching staff's trust, what about vice versa? We talk about players being put in situations to succeed, and Nick Richards specifically having a very simple job. But if you don't allow him to play through some of the tough moments, the negative moments, the clutch moments, what if he's rolling? What if he has 20-7 in the play-in game and it comes down to the clutch and he hasn't gotten 50% of the clutch reps that he should be getting because you decided to play Mason Plumlee against the Jazz at the beginning of February? You know, it doesn't make sense to me the same way that Ryan Dunn's minutes restriction doesn't make sense to me. He was out of the starting lineup today. Oso Ighodaro being iced out completely. These players, to me, feel like they have pretty clearly defined roles and where I think they should be on this roster, Steven. And it just keeps fluctuating up and down. And for anybody in any job, it's hard to be your best when your role and what you are being asked to do is not consistent.
That's it. It's not a complicated equation. Brought him in for multiple reasons. He showed you he was up to the task in his very first game, in his first shift, let alone his first game. You reward him by starting him in the second game of his tenure with your team. And now all of a sudden, we're starting to see variance in, like he didn't set a tone from literally hopping off the plane with Detroit in the game at Detroit.
And that's the thing is, for all of his lows, he's shown you that he can give you the best stretch of center play that you've seen from anybody at the position this entire season. Yeah. And while he's also giving you some pretty low moments, we understand his limits. And I think you should allow him the opportunity to work through some of those deficiencies. Matthew with the $2 super chat. Thanks, Matthew. Says, I'm ashamed. I turned it off. Grayson with a 3 for the A.
I'll admit, I went to throw out my trash and everything, so I was off to the side kind of watching it while throwing things away. I had given up hope at that point too, so I understand where you're at, Matthew, but watch the replay multiple times.
Spin zone. Thank you guys. The reason you guys not watching was the reason why the shot was hit. So thank you, Matthew. Also thank you, Mike, with a $1.99 super chat. Says, gut feelings is about as stupid as it gets. I'm assuming that's what he was meaning by hit feelings, but gut feelings, because he's been talking a lot about Bud in the chat.
I will say, for advanced metrics, Mason is technically the Suns' best so far this season. That being said, there's numbers, then there's your two eyes. One of those two identifies with feel versus data. And that's a back and forth wrestle for coaches. Are you going to trust the lineup data? Or are you going to trust this 4-minute stretch that you saw when you went small ball versus going against what the data suggests? That's a brain wrestle back and forth. The discernment has to be there. And when you add the context to why you brought in Nick Richards and him playing well tonight.
Wasn't there flaw in the data, though, too? Because he hasn't played that much. So, and you have more data on Mason anyways. Like, so... And okay, so defensively, but rebounding has been such a large problem. And there was no doubt that Nick Richards was able to rebound effectively tonight. So I understand instinct, and sometimes you know what, that does play a factor.
We've seen it work in Bud's favor.
Yeah, and we've seen it work in a lot of coaches' favor.
Absolutely.
It's the whole ride the hot hand concept.
That's the differentiation piece for coaches.
Yeah, and but at some point, sometimes you got to go, okay, gut, I get what you're saying, but I know what's going on out there, and I'm going to stick with Nick and deal with it if that's what comes with it. And I think that Portland game, this game, if you had Nick Richards out there to get the rebound, in those situations, you're likely getting it where Mason isn't that guy right now.
And in that case, then the numbers when Nick Richards is on the court would be better. There were a couple super chats that went through the system before we went live, so I went back and I found those. So apologies for skipping over those of you who super chatted first. Mike from Mesa did have one earlier saying, fire Bud now. Why did he pull Nick and Bol? So we appreciate that super chat, Mike. Hopefully our conversations have answered that. I'm sorry for missing that. Alec also with a $4.99 super chat before the show saying, starting to really worry about Bud's rotations. Mason over Nick in overtime makes no sense at all. And Ryan needs way more minutes. Steven, you've been harping on the Ryan Dunn point for weeks now, it feels like at this point, ever since he returned from injury.
It makes no sense. That first game he came back, the ankle, okay, cool. You figure you put him at a cap for minutes. If his first shift doesn't look like it should be what it is, then okay. Give him that minutes total. let him progressively, incrementally work back towards his typical minute load. But he's 2 weeks away from when he came back from the ankle injury. Don't think he's still seeing lingering effects from that.
And he's been playing the whole time. The
So
whole time.
what's the issue?
I don't know.
Where is his rhythm and confidence going to come from if his role is changing so much?
I'd have to go back and look historically because I don't know off the top of my head, but how much has Bud trusted rookies throughout his career?
And that was my thing, because I know coaches of that era in terms of age, Doc Rivers is another example of it. It's not that they don't trust younger players or rookies. They just don't play them. They would rather bring in someone off of a buying players out off of the waiver wire and play someone brand new versus playing a rookie.
But if that's your philosophy, then you don't start the season by starting him when players get injured. That's the thing is, if you're not going to play him, then don't play him. But don't freaking put him in and take him out and start him and play him bench minutes. Like, it's just so stupid.
I think
that's my point.
I think he may have felt his hand was forced earlier on, right? And when things turn sideways, you hunker down even more into what your belief system is, right? So if that is, and again, I have to go back and look, but if that's what he's traditionally leaned into, as things got tougher, you're going to naturally go back to what you know best. And that could explain some of the Knicks stuff too, because he's newer, he is younger than Mason. Mason's a known quantity, so you go with that, right? But it's not the right thing to do. And it's not necessarily the smart thing to do, but it may be what he's prone to do. So
yeah, I'm just not okay with that. But I'm loving everybody in the chat right now. What's up, Lenny, Judas, Swag, Leo, B, Sandman, Tony? Thank you to everybody who's tapping in with us on a Friday night. We're going to keep it rolling, read more of your super chats. We're inching closer to that like goal, but we've slowed down a little bit. So I want to make sure that just about 500 of you in here have all hit that like button by the time we're back from our final break. If you are looking to buy a house right now, I highly encourage you to check out the Carol Royce team. There is no better place in the Valley to handle your real estate than with Carol Royce. Now, listen, it's not just because she's going to make sure you make the right decision. It's because she's going to give you a guaranteed decision. Now, why can she guarantee things? Well, because she has been family owned and locally operated. Her practice has been through 3 generations of family members serving the Valley of the Sun. They've sold over 12,000 homes across the Valley. And right now, your home can be sold for 100% of the market value, or Carol will pay you the difference. And that is a guarantee. If you're looking for a cash offer, why just settle for 1? Carol Royce can bring you 6, 7, sometimes even 8.
Now
and
you sound like LeBron.
Not 1, not 2, but 8 cash offers up to that on your home. If you're considering selling or buying your home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Have questions, call today or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com.
Steven, could you use $200?
I mean, I think everybody can use $200.
Don't ask me for it, but I got some place you can get it from. Our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. They are Arizona's top financial credit union. They are fantastic. I know the Ruby family has been involved with it for 467 years.
Since before they existed.
They in this read, they've existed for 84 years, and we've been reading it for almost 2 years. I think we're well into the 85th year at this point, but they are fantastic. Whether you need a loan, a checking account, a savings account, investments, or more, they are the financial experts that you want to go to in the Valley of the Sun. And let me tell you, I said, do you need $200? You're going to get it when you open a free checking account online, and you're going to get it in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today.
Woo! Over 500 of you in here on a Friday night. Usually these Friday nights are so busy, but so many of you choosing to spend your night with PHNX Suns. We truly, genuinely appreciate everybody who has spent any time in here. Of course, those of you. Yeah, even those of you who are a little salty today and maybe are trying to bring some harsh vibes. It's okay. And we still appreciate you being here. Just make sure you leave that like. And also, we love it when everybody hits that subscribe button as well. Turn those notifications on so you know when we're going live for pregame, postgame, or live shows, of course, including our pre- and postgame show for tomorrow. We do have a lot to get into on the show, so buckle up. Let's get through your super chats. Gerald will join us later. We have sound from Tim Legler, Keith Smith, James Jones. We have a lot. But Matthew with the $2 super chat says, can we please, for the love, bench Tyus FFS? for blank sake.
Yeah, I mean,
It's got to happen.
I mean, what do you have? 16 points tonight, but
good game.
he still had defensive issues. Yeah, I think we're at a point where that's going to be what happens, and it would not shock me if eventually it's Bradley Beal that slides back into that starting lineup at that point. But yeah, I think we're definitely at a point where time to change it up when it comes to Tyus.
I will hope it's trending in that direction.
By the way, number 24, Lauri Markkanen, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was on the inbounder, so you did have a 7-footer on Royce.
I'm pretty sure you could just have like anybody on the Jazz roster on the court, and it's a 7-foot white guy.
Could they have stacked Kessler on top of him and just gone 2 guys?
Put Svi right above that. Yeah. Maria with a $9.99 super chat. Thanks, Maria. Says Nick should have been in at the end of the game. We agree. Plumlee could not rebound the way Nick could and was doing before being pulled in the fourth. Bud's gut feeling gives me migraines. Feel that. Be calm, see clearly with a $5 super chat says, I think it's time to have a convo about Bud. I want Becky Hammond, a.k.a. Mama, to coach this team. She would make them hustle, or is it the drugs talking? Probably both.
Listen, Becky got rings, plural. That's all I got to say.
I would love Becky Hammond to coach this team.
Becky, another coach. Coach
Bring him in from the tree. Joe with a couple super chats. First one, $2 saying, can we get Ben Simmons?
Nope. Not legal.
Yeah,
they can only sign players making the MLE, which was $12.5 million or less.
No, that's not even it. You can't have two players who used to date a Jenner on the same roster.
I mean,
that's in the new CBA. Blame CJ.
It's the same Jenner. You can't. that's where you draw the line.
That's fair.
You think the locker room's toxic now?
Bring Ben Simmons.
You go full Tony Braxton mode there. You can't do that.
And then Joe with another $5 super chat. Saying, watching Twitter, getting ready for the negativity on our toxic team, then heard Mike Breen yell, bang! Got up real quick from the couch. Oh, yeah, Joe.
Wait, was this on ESPN still? I thought they had bounced it from ESPN.
I thought they bounced it too.
I missed Mike Breen yelling, bang!
Yeah, we got K-Ray with the boom room. Maybe not on the game-winning call.
Hey, that's not the boom room. You got to get dunked for that.
Not the game-winning call.
I need a bang!
Boom room and bang. T with a $5 super chat.
Hey, you can't do that in the boom room. We know that.
There are rules for the boom room, folks. You must follow them. T with a $5 super chat says, Bud had Grayson on the bench in Milwaukee before he traded in. Bud has Grayson on the bench now. What are the odds he trades him again?
Well, he doesn't trade people. So hopefully, I mean, look, in 3 months, they could trade everybody not named Devin Booker.
Yeah. So Joe mentioned about the conversations about the Phoenix Suns having a toxic culture. Media was able to catch up with Coach Mike Budenholzer pregame and asked him if those reports about there being a toxic locker room are true.
Not true.
And why so? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, the making it through a season and all the things that come with that are never easy. So it's not like this has been a perfect or an easy ride, but I think the guys' commitment to each other, the guys' willingness to learn and grow is good. And so I just it's that's what I see.
Didn't look like a team with a toxic locker room tonight. Game-winning shot, everybody goes out and celebrates, but I don't think this is something that could be answered in 24 hours. We're going to need to see it play out over the rest of the season to see exactly where everybody's head is truly at.
Look, like Steven said in pregame, winning could cure any kind of malaise. But I'm sorry, if you ask the guy that's in charge of making sure the locker room is in order, he's not going to go, yeah, it's toxic. I really screwed this up. No, he's going to say, no, it's not toxic. So, I mean, that's exactly the response I'd expect, even if it were toxic.
Yeah, he's not going to say, I hate going in there. I hate coming to work every day.
Imagine if he did.
Like, you know what? It would be great if he was like, I haven't been in that locker room in weeks. How would I know?
Toxic, you'd have to ask them. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's wrap things up on this game specifically, and let's take a look at what's in the box, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
What's in the box?
The Suns tie their season high in three-pointers made again. I think this is the third time they hit 22 on the season. First time in overtime. The other 2 times came in regulation. Also, look at the stocks. The Suns were getting after it with blocks tonight, and in particular, and that defensive activity that they were able to play off of into their offense is where things really turned in the second quarter throughout essentially the rest of the game. And that's where they were able to obviously come back and then ultimately win in overtime. And the last thing to look at, the turnover numbers. Turnovers. Biggest boogaboo, biggest weakness, biggest Achilles heel for the Suns. Only 7 in a game that did not see them with Kevin Durant or Bradley Beal. That speaks to great ball security from Devin Booker, and that speaks to everybody else playing in the way that they needed to in terms of not conceding an advantage to the Utah Jazz and making them have to earn it on offense.
I love that. I was going to say I love that box, and then I knew I was going to get clipped because that's crazy.
And then you said it anyway.
Well, because if I preface it, I could still say something that would be funny, but I can't really get caught like that. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Not really.
Speaking of a win situation, Espo, what was your biggest number that stood out to you tonight?
The 55 threes. I actually believe that's a franchise record for attempts in a game. Oh, yeah, here. Look.
Oh, Espo's taking his clothes off, folks.
Purple rain. Yeah.
You were manifesting that.
Yeah, I wore it on purpose. I knew exactly what was going to happen, including the Grayson 3.
So the purple pants are retired, but
They
the
are.
purple rain shirt is good.
The pants are going in the rafters. We've talked about that, but yeah, I mean that number of 3-pointers taken, and the fact that they made 22 of them is something that's encouraging. I mean, again, we know the reality of what the game was, but I like it. So
I think the biggest number to me was 13. And that was how many points the Phoenix Suns scored in overtime. Because we've seen this team, and you mentioned it earlier in the show, Steven, we've seen them crumble when the going gets tough. We've seen another team like Oklahoma City in the first half of their last game just come out and take advantage of them, and the Suns had nothing to do afterwards. They just laid down and the game was over. The Jazz, at a very pivotal moment, took the lead in the clutch. The Suns had this big moment. They went to overtime, and they capitalized on it. They carried that over, and you saw them play with passion and fire, and the bench was reacting. And for a moment, you forgot about all of the other problems that were surrounding this team, and you were just enjoying good basketball. When a team flips a switch, and it's time for us to flip the switch, time for girth.
In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome to
Now it's time for From the Home Court, presented by the Carol Royce team, your home sold guaranteed realty, where Carol will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of the market value, or she'll pay you the difference. Learn more at carolroyceteam.com. Oh, he's back from Footprint Center, the one, the only man who gets the best angle of Grayson Allen's game-tying 3, Gerald Bourguet. Gerald, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I don't know what you did to him, but all of a sudden that was a lot of energy that just
get to see Gerald.
came out of him. So
I love seeing Gerald. Gerald's a smart guy.
Gerald, is it true when the Suns came out on the court tonight they played Britney Spears Toxic?
That is not true, but there was lots of mention of toxicity tonight, so that was fun to hear.
Well, what were the general vibes post-game? Big, fun win in the moment, but of course a lot surrounding this franchise. What was your general takeaways from all post-game comments?
Yeah, I've said it before. It feels like this Suns team is well aware of what the fan base is feeling, and they're going through a lot of the same things that everybody else is in terms of watching this team play, except they're experiencing it firsthand. So I think tonight's win was much needed, not just for the fan base, but for the team itself. Obviously, there was some talk post-game about needing to close things out a little bit better. Devin Booker brought up the defensive rebounding and some of the second chance opportunities that Utah got during that run, where they were able to turn it from a 13-point deficit into a 4-point lead with about 4 seconds left. But Grayson was saying he felt like a couple of those were just fluky, unlucky bounces that they couldn't do anything about. They know they need to close better, but they also understand the impact of a feel-good win like that, and how much just the vibes alone of something like that can help the locker room. So Grayson being able to hit that shot was really good for morale.
If you are watching us on TV, we appreciate you so much. Party always continues over at GoPHNX.com.
Gerald, the 3-point shots, they really dictated with those tonight in makes and volume and the ways in which they generated said shots. Did anybody speak to the volume of which they were able to create in tonight's game?
Yeah, Booker mentioned a little bit about how he felt like his teammates were able to set good screens for him and find him in good positions. Obviously Grayson had not just the 3 to force overtime, but the 3 before that to put them within striking distance within one with a couple, I think 1.2 seconds left. And then he had the first 3 coming out of overtime. I think when you're going up against the Utah Jazz defense and they're missing all the guys that they were missing tonight on top of that, that's going to help in terms of generating the shot quality that you want. But they did a really nice job of being able to generate those threes. Obviously, Grayson knocking down 7. It was ugly in the first quarter. They just couldn't make any of their shots, but it felt like they stuck with it and were able to knock those down as the game progressed.
Before Grayson Allen's threes there at the end of the game, the talk was Bud's rotations. Did you guys get a chance to ask him about that? And in particular, did he have anything to say about Ryan Dunn's lack of minutes tonight?
No, I didn't ask about Ryan Dunn. We'll be asking him about that in pregame tomorrow. There's only so many things you can ask in a postgame session, especially when you get 2 questions and have to pass the mic to the next person. But obviously he gave his answer about Mason Plumlee, kind of similar to what he said last time. I asked him about that in terms of the gut feel. And I think he mentioned familiarity with what they're running down the stretch as to why they've been closing with Mason over Nick Richards. Again, I hope that changes. I felt like Richards was having a pretty good game there. He had the double-double. He had the 4 blocks. It felt like, this was a good opportunity to get him some closing minutes, especially with the way the Jazz were able to attack them on the offensive glass down the stretch. But it really does feel like Ryan Dunn is kind of being phased out of the rotation, and I'm a little worried for his minutes, especially with Cody Martin coming into the picture now, providing another option on the wing.
There's a lot going on with this team. Gerald, you mentioned post-game availability. You were also there for pre-game availability today. We played Mike Budenholzer's comments responding to reports of a toxic locker room. Of course, he denied it. You also heard from James Jones, who was asked about the whole Kevin Durant rumors and saga. What did he have to say pregame?
Yeah, they're kind of staying mum on that subject. He went with his old tried and true, we're going to keep that internal. We don't like to talk about some of the things we do behind the scenes publicly. The only thing that he would offer publicly was that they did not talk to teams, or they did not talk to Bradley Beal about him waiving his no trade clause. So it's an interesting path to take. We asked if there had been conversations had with Kevin Durant about that, because regardless of whether they actually were trading him, and multiple reports cited that they were considering trading him to the Warriors, even just the presence of those reports could make a star feel some type of way. And, James Jones said there's been ongoing daily conversations about that, but that runs contradictory to what all the reporting has said in terms of they did not loop him in and then Kevin Durant and his agent had to find out about it through back channels, which is not a good look. So we're going to see. You've noticed an uptick in Kevin Durant's activity on Twitter recently, so something to keep an eye on for sure. Hopefully he's available to play tomorrow and they can kind of build on this momentum that they generated in tonight's game. But in terms of what was actually said from James Jones and Mike Budenholzer pregame about it, it kind of felt like a whole lot of nothing.
Any other questions for Gerald before we let him go type his life away?
No, Gerald, thank you so much for your efforts out there. I know trade deadline's tough on even those covering the team. So we appreciate all your hard work and being out there for us.
Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed the last minute or so of that Jazz game.
Yeah, brother. I was screaming. You know it. Bye, Gerald. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. Of course, you can find all of his writing over on GoPHNX.com. He mentioned the fact that he's a little worried about Ryan Dunn's minutes with Cody Martin coming into the mix. No Cody Martin, no Vasily Micic tonight. They're not with the team yet. They do play tomorrow. In case, let's say, Cody Martin, who more people expect to be in the rotation, Steven, does make a surprise debut tomorrow. What do you feel like Suns fans can expect from him?
There's a lot. I don't have enough time unless you give me 15 minutes to talk about it.
We could save that, but give me the abbreviated version.
Well, he's instantly their best point of attack defender.
Instantly?
And yes. And that does not
That's
have
a low
to,
bar. I mean, don't act shocked.
Talk to the left hand.
No, thank you.
But my reason in mentioning that is not to put Ryan Dunn down. It should be complimentary to Ryan Dunn to where for at least 37 to 40 minutes, the Suns should have one of two above average point of attack defenders on the court for them. They have a litany of guards that they could put, in addition to Kevin Durant, that they could put around them to insulate them offensively. But you need the balance. You need it. And that, as we've seen, a lot of the inconsistencies have come from Ryan Dunn only being by himself in terms of stable perimeter defense, picking up 94 feet, being able to guard dudes. You now get another player that can guard dudes on the perimeter. And it's a position defensively, a role that's unheralded in many different respects. But Cody is someone that can do that in an effective manner. And he does it even differently than Ryan Dunn does, which I think, again, should be complimentary. For Mike Budenholzer, it should not be one or the other. It should be both in different capacities.
How is his offensive game, though? Did they just simply get a bigger Josh Okogie, or does he have something at least enough to offer on that end that he might stay on the court if he gets those minutes?
Yeah, I understand the questions and the comparisons to Josh Okogie, but Cody is different defensively and offensively from Josh. Josh was a good cutter. Cody's a great cutter. Cody is also trustworthy with the ball in his hands. He can initiate offense for you. He's not going to be a primary point guard in any capacity with the players you have on your team. But he played point guard in college his senior year at Nevada, and he also averaged 7 assists. He can run secondary pick and rolls for you in an efficient way. If teams are pressuring Devin Booker, KD, Bradley Beal, he can bring it up the court no different than Grayson Allen has done to get you into your sets consistently and then get it to where it needs to be. He's a really good passer in like a secondary manner. And in addition to the cutting, he's also a player that gets after on the offensive rebounds too.
Well, you know, there's always a couple players every year who go under the radar at the trade deadline that end up having a big impact. If all the things that you're saying play out in the best fashion here in Phoenix, maybe Cody Martin could be that guy. We're going to have to see him, see how Bud incorporates him, and then maybe have a conversation about him going into the summer because he doesn't have guaranteed money next year. But Espo, there's one way more important stat when it comes to Cody Martin. I got you, dude.
Fun fact, right? This is my Nito stat of the night, if you will.
Espo's Nito stat of the night.
Sponsored by absolutely no one. With Cody Martin now on the Suns, I'm going to read this so I don't butcher this. With Cody Martin now on the Suns, the franchise has had 21% of the siblings to ever play in the NBA represented on their roster. So at least one of the two of the siblings. They've also had at least one sibling from 6 of the 9 sets of twins ever in NBA history. 7 if you count the fact that Coach Brett Barry is technically on the bench now. That's insane when you think about that. And how many times has it been the lesser brother? I didn't do the percentage of that, but it's a lot of times. So,
hey, man, good job reading that. Shooting 50% from the field on the show.
Hey.
Appreciate that. Speaking of reading, let's get to some more super chats. Guys, we're still far away from the like goal. I can't lie. I'm a little bit disappointed. Maybe these beat columns see clearly.
We're not
super
reading
chats.
either of these.
You don't think so?
No, we're not.
Oh, we're not reading the second one. Get the second one out of here.
No, we're not.
Steven, why don't you read the first one?
Man, what?
What would it take?
Not that. It's just nothing.
What dollar amount of super chat would it take for you to read the first super chat?
Well, it's not going directly to me, so there's no.
Fair enough.
Let me just say this. After everything that BComs, he clearly told us in pregame about his life.
Crazy.
I still think he's on the pain meds.
Maybe.
I'm assuming it's a he.
I'm not sure.
We don't know. I'm just assuming, but I'll just read. Fine. The first one.
Just the first one.
I want a pair of Devin Booker's underwear is what
Clip
he clearly says.
Guys, put it on socials.
Don't do that. You know how many things I'm gonna clip that you've said?
Oh, dude, you can make a whole highlight reel.
It's on if we're gonna go
I literally said something earlier this show that you could do that with. All right, let's wind down here on the PHNX Suns post game show. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed as well. Final thoughts on this game, on the state of the Suns before we play a couple clips from some videos that we have that we want to share with everybody.
I enjoyed their adjustments to their approach in the second quarter throughout the rest of the game. First quarter was very stale, a whole lot of watching Devin Booker. They try to cycle through screens, and we talked about it in each of the previous pre-games going into games against the Jazz. One of the highest switch rates in the entire NBA. If you're trying to run pick and roll and they're just willing to switch their center onto Devin Booker, you're just bleeding away the shot clock with no action run. So they start moving and start screening with their guards to get a reaction on ball, moving Devin Booker off the ball and getting them into movement catches. And those things were very productive for them. The three-point opportunities rose. They were able to start making them in rhythm. And then Devin Booker also just went takeover mode. So I like their adjustments in real time to what the defense was presenting to them.
Yeah, just seeing Devin Booker be that guy tonight and have that instinct and cut into the hoop, all those things that he did, was good to see that again.
First game in front of the home crowd as the Phoenix Suns all-time leading scorer, and he put on quite a performance, got MVP chance, but the team on his back. That was really my big takeaway. Listen, I can't take a ton from this game on the court. You're not going to change the season through one game, but I felt something tonight. And with this team, that was a win. I don't care.
Something awoke in you tonight.
Listen, I won't, like, when Devin Booker gets hot, it's a spiritual experience. Like,
cut it and put it online.
It's fine. It's fine. When Devin Booker is putting the ball in the bucket on the level that only some can hit, and he is one of few, it is incredible as a fan, right? And through all the noise, the trade deadline, the reports, everything that's going on the night for him to set the all-time scoring record on the road, come home, get honored pregame, put up nearly 50 and 10 in the game, and then get MVP chance as his team wins in overtime. That is something that he absolutely deserves and this fan base deserves. Speaking of Devin Booker, one last thought from him on this game, talking about the Suns' mindset down 4 with 4 seconds left.
I mean, just the old-fashioned mindset, it's not over till it's over. Everybody was still locked in. Nobody dropped their heads. We went to the timeout, and, we locked into the play call that Coach drew up, and, we executed at a high level. So, if anything, it's a lesson for us moving forward. If it comes to the playoff time where you have to steal the game, I remember when we did it versus the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals game too. Like, the game is truly never over, and you don't want to be on the other side of that. So it's a learning lesson both ways.
Well, as fun as tonight was, it is still only one game. They have to go out tomorrow night and to beat the Nuggets to maybe start walking down that path towards redemption. And we'll be there holding your hand along the way. Pre-game, post-game show. We also have a Southwest bias. Steven and I sat down. Really great conversation about where do the Suns go going forward? What is a win for them for the season? What's a successful season look like? And do they have the tools to get there? We also, for you on audio, will be releasing interviews with Tim Legler and Keith Smith that Espo was able to get the other day, just to give you a little teaser. Those are already up on our YouTube, but if you're an audio person, we got some of this coming to you. This is Tim Legler's first reaction to the Phoenix Suns' moves and lack thereof at the trade deadline.
You're looking at the Suns right now, and am I surprised? Yeah, because they've got this talent at the top of their roster, but something's not clicking, and maybe the organization looked at it and said, you know what? It's not even about a personnel thing. It's about just gelling and playing harder and tougher and competing more. And I don't know that adding marginal personnel, rotational guys is going to matter. Once Bradley Beal basically made it clear he wasn't going to waive his no trade, you're not trading Booker. And I think would it not have been prudent to trade Kevin Durant either. So I guess you're kind of stuck. The question is, can they figure out a way to have a more cohesive mentality going forward? That's the problem. Nurkic, he wasn't happy, so that's not good to have a guy around like that, but he's not causing this. So, they've lost 4 out of 5 games. They're giving up a ton of points. They've got to be tougher. They've got to play harder, play better together, and be more into it and be more competitive in general. And that's what we're going to have to wait and see over the last 25 games or so.
I mean, he says it. They're stuck, and they either figure it out or they don't with it. And great conversation. Legs always has such fantastic insight he talked about how he had been in toxic locker rooms, different aspects of all that, and what they did and didn't do at the deadline. And then he tells one of the greatest stories about how he got traded from the Washington Wizards, or excuse me, it was the Bullets at the time. And it is possibly one of my favorite stories that I've ever been told by an NBA player. It's pretty outlandish, so you can check that out on our
Do we want to play
YouTube
that?
page.
We have it. Or we want to make him work for
I
it.
want to make him work for it.
It's a great story.
You'll enjoy it.
It is an awesome story.
One of my favorite. One of my favorite I've heard. Also, I want to address Tony in the chat. Tony has been having some fun tonight. Tony, I don't hate you. I enjoy your comments in here, and they are entertaining, and we don't always have to agree. But
That's weird. You're wearing your
enjoy
"I
it.
Hate Tony" shirt earlier.
No, I'm wearing my Purple Rain shirt. I've got my "I Hate Tony" hat in the office. I switched it out. Brandon Bills hooked me up with that thing. But yeah, that is what it is. But yes, it was the cruise, Tony. So.
And then, Espo, you also caught up with Keith Smith, who is an expert when it comes to the financials of the NBA world, the salary cap, the second apron. We talked about the Cody Martin-Micic trade. He got into that. That's also up on our YouTube channel right now. If you just can't wait, which I don't blame you, it will also, both of those interviews be up in our audio feed along with Southwest by. So you got a lot going on tomorrow before our post-game show. Before we wrap up, Steven, do you have any final thoughts on the game, the state of the Suns, or anything else going on right now?
Blue collar boys, Royce O'Neal stepped up big time tonight. Even through his misses, he got to his makes. That's the mentality of a blue collar player. Not always going to hit the shots and not always going to make the impact that you desire to, but can you work through those misses, whether it be literal misses on shots or misses over the course of a game in terms of rotations and execution to get to the makes at the meaningful moments in games. That's a big distinguishing factor between blue collar players. And naturally with that, they add another one in Cody Martin. I think his impact is going to be felt. He'll carve out a niche with this team quickly, and he's going to help to add to that group of players in particular.
Yeah, I love that Royce doesn't get rattled. He just
confidence.
He just accepts, makes and misses are part of this, and I'm going to keep going. Mm-hmm. And you need that sometimes.
Be calm, see clearly with a couple more super chats. I'm not reading the first part. Don't put it up on screen. Says the team just needs a hug. That's all I'm reading from that one. And then a $2 super chat. Be calm, see clearly says, I'm America's most hated. I love you, Booker. That is the essence of Be Calm, See Clearly right there. If you missed our pregame show, we really got to know Be Calm, See Clearly. And I just want to let everybody know.
MVP of the chat in a handful of ways after telling the story.
Guys, we have not hit our like goal yet. Noah has a producer surprise. So we need to smash that like goal. My final thoughts on tonight is much like before the trade deadline, much like when you beat Denver on Christmas, or when you had a good win against the Pistons in Nick Richards' first game, or you blow out the Lakers the first game, the big three are all back and they only play 30 minutes, or you go 8-1 on the start of the season. The only thing that matters now is what you do next. But I promise you this, I'm not going to go into every game miserable. I just can't do that for my own mindset.
Well,
I'm going to go
enough for the both of us.
And that's
Don't
good for you, man. If that's how you cope, that's fine. But listen, man, I love the sport. I love a lot of the players on this team, and I feel like it is a lot healthier to go into these games and understand the expectations you have to set for what they've shown you, and being surprised if they surpass that, and being extra surprised if they surpass that dramatically and consistently. And there's a path. We just got to see them walk it.
One step forward, two steps back,
and a turnover.
Been what it is. So we will see.
I don't think we're hitting our like goal, guys.
Apparently, it's because we're too toxic.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really toxic episode from us.
I mean, in general, we are a toxic trio.
Yeah, you know what? Because we're so toxic, I guess.
Queasy Quartet, is that what it is when Gerald's here?
The Queasy Quartet. No, Noah's definitely a part of the Queasy Quartet for sure. You know what? Since we're so toxic and terrible, I guess we'll be extra nice to the people. And we haven't hit our like goal, but I think we should still get the producer surprise. Noah, crazy computer guy, take it away.
Oh my!
For those of you on audio,
the goats.
Noah, why don't you paint a picture for those on audio who can't see the producer surprise?
It's the 5 best basketball players I can think of. To the left, we have, starting with Kobe Bryant. Then we go over to King LeBron James. And then we have Michael Jordan thrown in there. And then I thought the White Mamba, why not? Brian Scalabrine,
Okay.
go. And then, of course, Bol having an absolutely insane game. These are the 5 best basketball players to ever play.
I know that's actually Brian Scalabrine, but it looks like some dude cosplaying as Brian Scalabrine.
It looks like
Halloween
AI.
costume.
It genuinely looks like AI.
I think AI had more tattoos. Noah, can you power rank those 5 players for me? Kobe, Bron, Jordan, Scal, and Bull.
Yeah, well, starting at 5, we'll
Okay.
have Kobe.
Okay.
And then 4 will go LeBron.
Okay.
3 will go Michael Jordan.
I'm with you.
2 will go Bol, and then
Wow.
1 is the
Not
White
one for
Mamba.
Bull. Where does
No,
Alex
no.
Sarr rank in there for you?
Like 9,052.
And Cade Cunningham?
Like 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was our producer's surprise. We appreciate everybody who's been along for the surprise. Those of you who hit the like button now, those of you who are going to hit the like button later. And if you are listening on audio, make sure you rate us 5 stars and feel so inclined. You don't have to watch on YouTube, but if you hop over here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It does help us out a ton.
Ted Offensive says it's Scalabrine, the Ginger Grimace.
Oh, that would have been such a sick name.
No, that's Ray, the
In
mascot.
says throw Cam Scattaboo on the graphic. That is somebody who's speaking my language. Appreciate Red Hawk, Big Buddy, Sandman Bees, Ted, Sean, everybody who's been in the chat with us all night on a Friday. Those of you who are watching later, remember to come back Saturday night pregame, postgame show against the Denver Nuggets. And, of course, we have Southwest Bias coming out, Steven and I, tomorrow morning. And then we have audio listeners getting Tim Legler and Keith Smith. If you're on YouTube, you can access that. Right now, you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Noah at I don't know, but you probably don't want to. But we do thank him for being behind the Mac and making all of the magic happen. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3, balancing us out as always. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY, and you can follow Espo at Espo.
Too high, can't come down. It's in the air and it's all around. Can you feel me now?
Whoa.
With a taste of your lips, I'm on a ride. You're toxic. I'm slipping under. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.